We have gotten some breaking news out of Anthropic in regards to how much revenue they are actually generating. So up until now, a lot of people have speculated over this. We know that Anthropic really is kind of the main competitor to ChatGPT when it comes to a large language model that a lot of people are actually using. There's a bunch of competitors, but Anthropic seems to definitely be number two as far as how much money they've raised and how many people are using their product. So today on the podcast, I want to talk about what they're looking at, what their forecasted revenue is for next year, how much money they're expected to generate, a bunch of really interesting topics. We're going to get into it. So let's get into the podcast.
We gon' bring it to you just like that. Welcome everyone to the future. It's AI Chat, bringing you the interviews and giving you info to be in the know from tech company CEOs of. Rock with us, bet you gon' come back. I'm just saying the facts. This is AI Chat. Let's go.
So the big headline here is that Anthropic is expected to generate over $850 million in annualized revenue by the end of 2024. So this projection that we're getting right now, it's a big increase from their previous forecast of $500 million, right? So we're seeing that's like a 33% increase. So obviously there's some significant things that have changed. And a big one, a lot of people point to kind of the whole OpenAI debacle. We'll talk about that later. But one thing I did want to bring up is the fact that the company is growing very, very quickly. And of course, there's growing interest in generative AI. So the industry is growing. So that, of course, helps them. But I think in particular, there's a growing interest in generative AI among enterprise customers. And this is, I think, one of the big reasons why they actually revised their forecast upwards is because of the enterprise customers that they have added or expect to add. So what I will say is, the reason why they've kind of seen the benefit there is because, of course, of the entire OpenAI, Sam Altman getting ousted debacle. This actually led to over 100 OpenAI customers contacting Anthropic asking about alternatives. A lot of people, when OpenAI seemed a little bit shaky, they didn't know if the whole company said that they were all going to quit if Sam Altman didn't come back. A lot of people were skeptical about what was going to happen. And even if people believed, hey, don't worry, OpenAI is going to make it through and be fine, a lot of those companies realize just how, perhaps unwise it is to put all of your eggs in one basket with OpenAI, and they were looking for alternatives. If something did happen to the company, they need to have backups for some of their processes. And Claude, which is made by Anthropic, is definitely the number two player in this space and has a very solid product. So 100 customers of OpenAI contacted Anthropic, said, and I guess over that, but said, hey, look, we're looking for alternatives. And these are enterprise customers who are obviously paying significant amounts of money. Now, OpenAI, didn't suffer any massive financial blowback. I think they're actually still up in revenue. They passed $1.6 billion and in annualized revenue. So they're, obviously in a very solid place, and that's been growing all year. But I think they potentially could have shot themselves in the foot a little bit. I mean, it is what it is. But it definitely wasn't a good look for the company, and I think some of their competitors definitely benefited from that. So I want to go over some of the monthly revenue numbers, but I did want to just say the main way that Anthropic is generating revenue in its business is pretty much exclusively from its large language model Claude, the ChatGPT competitor. And so they have a web interface to use this, but they also have an API, and a lot of different companies are integrating the API. Companies like Poe.com were some of the first to actually get access to Claude. And they charged, I think, in order to get the premium, it was a $20 a month to get Poe Premium to access that. So there's costs associated, but I think that's the main revenue generator they have. And what we're seeing right now is that the revenue forecast for Anthropic is that it is at least $70 million a month by the end of next year. That's what they're forecasting, which is over 8 times its September 2021 monthly revenue. But I mean, this isn't a huge surprise. September 2021 seems like an eternity ago when it comes to the AI landscape. What I will say is Menlo is leading Anthropic's future funding through a special purpose vehicle. So this is kind of interesting for people that know much about that. What I will also say is that OpenAI right now is raising money at a valuation of $100 billion. And it owns, of course, the largest AI company, ChatGPT. So it's kind of interesting when we're seeing these companies raise money and, how much they're actually able to get, what the multiples are that they're actually able to get. And beyond just, the financial investments they're able to get some really solid cloud contracts, which are, gold in today's industry. So what Anthropic is currently looking for is a $15 billion valuation. They're doing this new funding round that I mentioned, led by Menlo, and they're looking to raise $750 million. But this, I think, is pre-money. The valuation is pre-money. So after the money, after what they're raising goes in, their valuation could actually exceed $18 billion, which is really, really impressive. And I believe that Menlo Ventures is expected to invest between $400 and $500 million in the round. They have a bunch of other investors, including Spark Capital, Salesforce, and Sound Ventures. What we're seeing, I believe, is, of course, enormous sums of money going into these AI kind of foundational models, but it seems like the biggest models are getting, a massive lion's share of the investing industry. So it's going to be interesting to see, where this goes in the future. But I'll definitely keep you up to date on how much they raise, what their valuations are, and how they track as far as actual revenue. Because right now, they're talking about, expecting to generate $850 million by the end of an annualized revenue by the end of 2024. But will that actually play out? I think there's a lot of things that are still going to shake out in the AI industry, so I'll keep you up to date on all of that. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast, where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.